These traps don't work. Alright, let's see what we can do about that. Greetings dear watchers, welcome back to another Ark Survival Ascended video. In this video, I'm going back to my Ark Ascended traps because when Ark Ascended first released, I made traps for all the aggressive dinos, but I did not test them quite enough. Just a couple of times, and that was enough for me to post a video. I was trying to be as quick as possible. So unfortunately, that wasn't enough for everyone. I got a lot of feedback about these traps. Some people were saying it worked perfectly, but some others said it just didn't work at all. So today we're gonna test these traps and figure out what went wrong. Then we'll do some altercations to get them right. I'm gonna follow the video release line. So the first trap we're gonna test is the Giga trap. So looks like they were right. I just walked over this trap, but when I first recorded this traps video, I managed to trap a wild Giga. Now what is the problem here? When you sprint, the Giga gains a momentum and manages to reach the other side of the trap. So when I was trapping the Giga, I was staying inside the trap, so the Giga was not fast enough to go through the trap. So this is how this trap works. You're gonna need to stop the wild Giga sprinting, so when it's in the trap completely, there is no way it's getting out. As you can see, I am trying to get out and it cannot walk through the trap. It's just getting stuck. Alright, now I'm gonna try to speed the server timer 5 times. That is not the full speed. So looks like when it is at 5 times faster, the Giga cannot leave. Now I'm gonna max out the server timer. Alright, it's still inside, but it might glitch out. So it did. I think this trap is working pretty fine. I don't think there is gonna be any altercations unless you are playing with max speed on your server, which that is unplayable. This Giga trap is pretty fine. I don't think there should be any altercations other than just designing a new trap. So the problem with this trap was Giga walking over because it was sprinting. So if you stay in the trap and make sure that the wild Giga is not actually sprinting but moving around the trap and falls to trap like this, then it's almost impossible for this Giga to escape. Alright, now let's move on to the next trap. Alright, now the Spino. I think this creature is one of the most difficult creatures to trap because it has a huge body composition, so it's pretty difficult to trap it with something that is cheap and easy to build. So let's try to sprint and maybe we can get out easily. Empty areas in the trap, I think it's gonna glitch out pretty easily, but as you can see with the normal server time, it's not actually getting out. So let's increase that and see if it's gonna work. Alright, it got out pretty easily. Let's try the server speed 5. Server speed 5 is also allowing the Spino to get out pretty easily. Now I'm gonna try to close this gap with walls. So let's try this now. That was no problem at all for the Spino. I'm gonna add more walls. Right, let's try the trap now. That was a quick failure. That edge is definitely not blocking the Spino. But if I add railings at the edges, I can't place railings here because then it will block the Spino's entrance from this way. It can enter from here no matter what, but it should be for directional entrance, so it will be easier to trap the huge Spino. Let's speed up the time. Alright, I don't think this is working. So we have this problem. Actually, Spino can easily get out from this. This is actually a problem with the server speed because when the game is on the normal server speed, the Spino can't really get out from these 1.5 high walls. But you know, it should be inescapable when the server speed is high, and that will stop all the glitches glitches, all the lag glitches, all that stuff. That's what I'm trying to achieve here. Looks like the giant seller is not doing its job properly. Alright, so I spent a little bit of time, and no matter what I do, I couldn't figure out a way to trap this Spino by using a large seller. So whatever I did, it managed to use the seller. As you can see, it can easily get out when the server time is increased. Doesn't get out from this side, so I think it can work if you increase the foundation height, but it gets out from here. So as you can see, the foundation from this side is higher than the others, so it works like that. But I'm not gonna say that this is a fix, so I just designed a new Spino trap. Let me show you that. Alright, this is the new Spino trap I designed. So far, with my extensive tests, with the server timer increases, it did not manage to get out, not even once. So let's just test that again, and I will show you how you can build it. It doesn't have a large seller in its design, but it's just a Spino trap, very similar to the basic pitfall traps, but it should be a little bit cheaper than the classic wall traps, and the Spino stays in there. As long as you can manage to get it inside the trap, it works quite nicely. Alright, we start by placing 3 foundations, and then to the sides we're gonna pick up these foundations, and we're gonna place the walls outside. Now we're gonna increase the wall size by half by using corner walls. Then use regular walls, but snap them to the corner walls so they will be increased as well. Now place corner walls at the corner of the trap, and finally place the stairs. Just one stair should be enough. If your foundation is too high above the ground, you can place another. Alright, let's test it now. So the Spino gets into trap and stays there and can't leave even with the maxed out server speed. It should prevent any kind of bugs and glitches happening on your server, even with heavy lag. Alright then, let's move on to the next dino. Now at this point, I don't think I can recommend anyone using this Rex trap. There are better and cheaper traps out there. I also made a trap that is pretty much usable for 10 different dino, but let's see if you get your Rex inside this trap, is it possible for Rex to escape? I'm gonna try to sprint and see if it's gonna go to the other side. It didn't. Now let's see if we're gonna be able to escape with the server speed increased. So I speed up the server to its max and it managed to get out. Let's try with the server speed at 5 max. Now I speed up the server to 5 times, and looks like it got out from the edge of the giant cellar, but with 5 times looks like it is not glitching out. I'm gonna try the max server speed and see it like that one more time. So it got out again. I'm gonna try placing 2 more ceilings at the edges and see if that's gonna change anything. Looks like it can get into the trap without a problem. Let's speed up and try to escape. So that area was the problem, and when you close off that with ceilings, and you can add more ramps to make it actually easier to fall into the trap, you can actually get yourself a Rex trap that is impossible to escape. There we go. So I think it's safe to say that this trap works pretty fine. The only problem is making the Rex fall into the trap with the new improved Dino AI. Alright, this Yuty trap is designed to be really cheap, but if I'm going after a Yuty, I would definitely use my trap with the railings. That's also cheap, but it is way more reliable. So let's see if this is gonna work properly. There we go. When we are sprinting, Yuty manages to walk over the trap, but if you stay on top of the stair and stop the wild Yuty's sprint, the Yuty falls inside the trap. So looks like when the Yuty is inside the trap, it's not actually getting out with the normal server speed. Let's speed that up and see if it's gonna stay in the trap or is it gonna leave the trap. So I am sprinting and I am moving around, and looks like the Yuty is not leaving the trap even with maxed out server speed. So I'm gonna put a very simple solution. Because Yuty is managing the walk over the trap, let's just make the trap longer, and that should prevent the Yuty to be able to walk over. There we go. This is the the trap that I just increased its size. Alright, let's try to sprint, and there we go, the Yuty is trapped. Let me try that one more time. Just by adding one more ceiling turned cellar is making this trap perfectly safe to use and efficient. I would still recommend using the railing trap, but if you don't want that, you can use this. I think I can say that the problem with this trap is fixed. The older version was still working, but you had to make sure that Yuty stopped on top of the stair, and that's how it was going inside the trap. Alright, now let's move on to the Theris. The Therizino uses the same exact trap as the Yuty, and so far as I can see, this trap works, but the Therizino is smaller than Yuty, and it can't actually get out by just sprinting. It can't walk over the trap, but when you speed up the time, because the Theri is smaller, it can manages to get out sometimes. There we go, we are out. I did see this problem with my first video, that's why I made an alteration to the Yuty trap, and which that was the adding a door frame. I think some people missed this part. This door frame is actually blocking the Theri and it can't get out like that. Let's see that one more time. Alright, we can get into trap as before. Let's speed up the time. Alright, so that was the problem. Theri actually manages to get out even with the door frames. That wasn't supposed to happen. Now let's figure out a way to block that. So there seems to be a problem with the edge of this door frame. The Therizino somehow with the increased server speed manages to get out from that side. So we're gonna place railings at the corner of the door frames. That should prevent the Therizino from escaping, and it shouldn't stop the Therizinos getting into the trap. There we go. Let's speed up the time. Alright, looks like the railings are working perfectly fine. That's about it for the Therizino. I think it's safe to say that this trap works perfectly now. Alright, the final creature on the list is the Megatherium. I don't really remember seeing comments about the Megatherium trap is not working. So if there was any, I'm gonna test this again. I personally prefer my foundation and secret doorway trap for the Megatheriums because it's pretty easy. You can also go and check that out. But now let's test this Yuty trap with the Megatherium. Alright, I'm going in. So the Megatherium looks like can walk over. There we go. That means we can just use the longer version. Let's test the longer version and see if it's gonna be able to get out. So even the Megatherium is sprinting. The trap with the tree long works perfectly. I was actually standing on top of the stair, and that is decreasing the speed of the wild dino, so that's why my trap tests worked. But just to make sure that it is better than before, I am doing these extra tests. Also, let's increase the server timer and try to get out. So looks like we are not getting out. So if it's tree long, it works quite well. This trap works for Yutys and Megatheriums quite nice. If you can add railings to the sides like this trap will also work for Therizino. So one trap, 3 dinos, at least 3 dinos. There we go. With this version you can trap Yutys, Therizinos and Megatheriums. To fix the problem in the original design, you can add door frames. That's where the door frames were working actually, so this will prevent them from walking over the trap. The door frame is actually blocking my sprint. Alright, this is gonna be the end of this video, but before I end the video, I need to put a disclaimer on this. Dinos can always decide to go right or left, and that will prevent them going into the traps, so they can still walk on the cellar and fall outside. Especially with this design, they can do things like that. If they change their direction, they will end up outside of the trap. To prevent that, you can use my complete railing trap with 4 foundation, 4 walls, 4 triangle roofs and 8 railings. Alright, thank you for watching, dear watchers, and I'll see you on the next video.